Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Art of the Finish Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Rels. Once again, joined by Doug and joined by Tony Diaz. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
How you doing, Tony?
I'm good. Good.
Good, good.
What's up?
Before we start, Tony, let everybody know about your podcast, and then we'll get into the topic. Let them know where
It's
they can see you.
okay. Yeah, it's Wrestling POV podcast. We just dropped a new episode today with Ty. Ty was on this last episode. It was pretty good. Pretty good. Had a
Yeah,
lot
it
of
was,
fun.
it was fun and it was long.
Yeah.
I realized we really went 3 hours.
Yeah. Yep.
And I lost and I lost the game, so I ain't happy about that. So I got to come back. But besides that, how's everybody's day been going?
Well, with the news happening, I mean it's crazy, but they say it comes in threes. So
Yeah, yeah. So if anybody's been under a rock for the whole day, Hulk Hogan died this morning, passed away this morning at the age of 71. From what was said, he had a massive heart attack. So
yeah.
yeah, Hulk Hogan was a very controversial figure towards the end of his career.
Towards
Um,
the end, yeah.
towards the end. So Tony, I'll start with you. What was your earliest memories of Hulk Hogan?
Well, this isn't really my earliest, but it's the day I met him, and it was right before I went to Desert Storm. I was still in basic training, and we were just about to graduate, and he came in and said a prayer for us and all this other stuff, and then took pictures afterwards. So that was my first time actually meeting him. Nice guy, cool guy. Really, I mean, he towered over me. So he is a big guy. But I have to say, man, just when he started wrestling for WWE, and say eat your vitamin, say your prayers, all that other stuff. Uh, it was actually, as a kid growing up, you actually listened to that, you felt that, But my biggest memory, though, I would have to say him versus Andre. Hogan versus Andre. Couldn't beat you can't beat that matchup. But
Yeah, I guess you have to say that too. I guess for me, I didn't come around to WrestleMania 3. Like I was more of I got into wrestling probably maybe about 88, 89, like around that time, but I wasn't really big with the WrestleManias back then. Actually, the first wrestling show I've ever saw was a WCW Saturday morning show. That was the first thing
right.
that actually got me into wrestling. But you know, as I found more wrestling, then you started to see like Hulk Hogan and Ultimate Warrior and Demolition and stuff like that. But I'd say my earliest Hogan memory probably would be probably around probably actually, you know what? It's probably No Holds Barred.
Oh wow.
Seeing that movie and then seeing
Zeus.
how Zeus came to life and how like as a kid that was crazy. When you're older now you realize what it was, but as a kid to see like a movie with Hogan fighting this enemy and then this villain actually came on to the actual wrestling match itself
Yeah.
and he looked like he was indestructible and Hogan couldn't stop him and Zeus worship. By the way, it's, rest in peace to Tiny Lister too. But
Oh yeah.
he used to have that finishing move when he would take your neck and twist your neck. And as a
Mhm.
kid, I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't try it. I'm one of those people that they said don't try this at home, and I did it. Yeah, but I would say that's probably like one of my earliest memories of Hogan. Doug, what is like one of your earliest memories of Hogan?
So he said Andre WrestleMania 3. That's really my introduction to wrestling, was lead up to WrestleMania 3. So I mean that's a big one, but to me really is when he reinvented himself with the NWO. Um, I've never really taken a hiatus from wrestling, but around that time, WrestleMania 12, 13, I was like 14, 15 years old. I was busy chasing girls and other stuff sometimes, and but when I came back, I'm a big WCW guy, and that was a big one. Like, as much as you could look back at it and say that you could have seen that coming, 10, 12 years said otherwise, that I didn't see that coming. So Bash at the Beach, Hog Wild, he wins a title from Big Show, stuff like that, and just kind of, and him, Scott Hall is one of my favorite wrestlers, so kind of elevating him up to the tippy top was good for me too. Just how, I mean, anybody who's ever made money off wrestling probably owes it to Hulk Hogan. I saw Ric Flair. He was crying on TV today about it. It was really, he was on TMZ.
Yeah, I've seen it too.
I'll say too that I saw Hogan at the Netflix special, and it was really, I don't want to say that I saw it coming, but he really looked in bad shape when at the Netflix special. I've never seen him. He looked really bad. So maybe he's at peace now. But anybody who's ever, I mean, we're hitting the mainstream today, really.
Mm-hmm.
So that just shows how much he means to the business. He's on every show. He was on the local news here. Greg Gagne was on the local news here. Just all kinds of crazy stuff that I'm seeing on TV. So
yeah. First of all, let me shout out the people who are watching on YouTube channel.
I mean, NWO though is my peak.
Yeah. Let me shout out the people on the YouTube channel watching. Elio from the Wrestling Point of View podcast is on. Listening. Brandon McMullen all the way down from South Carolina. Thanks you guys for joining, listening, talking about Hulk Hogan and to talk about Hulk Hogan, you got to talk about everything. We'll get to the negative part of it, but I will say this, and I was telling a friend earlier, to me, Hulk Hogan was the most heelish baby face ever, if that makes sense. Because I watched the Royal Rumble '92 a couple of weeks ago, and there's a part where Sid threw him over the ropes, and as opposed to Hogan just being okay with being eliminated, he kind of in his own way got Sid eliminated by cheating as well. And yet, today, I'm gonna be honest with you, in today's time, I don't think they would have been able to pull off Hogan being the babyface and Sid being the heel, because fans would have seen right through it.
Yeah.
Because they would have realized that Hogan was actually cheating. But back then, WWE had a way of kind of how can I say this? WWE had a way of Hogan being the heel, but still trying to twist the narrative to where he was the babyface.
Mm-hmm.
And fans bought into it. We realized, like I said, as we got older, you started to realize Hogan was really much more of a heel than he ever really was a babyface. But I'm gonna ask you, Tony, because that's an interesting thing too. Give me an example of where Hogan did something heelish but was a babyface.
I'd say when he fought The Rock at WrestleMania. The whole match in itself, because all of a sudden they were against The Rock, but they were cheering Hogan, but Hogan was still kind of doing heelish things during that match, So, he played the sympathy card, during the match. You saw it clear as day. And it was something that, saying now, it's like, oh shit, that's right. In WrestleMania, when he was still trying to be Hollywood Hogan. And yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it would probably be WrestleMania 9.
Which one?
He took Bret Hart's spot.
Oh yeah.
As a wrestling fan, I like I said, at that time, it was a cool thing. The main event, Hogan won. He came out, he beat Yokozuna. But when you get older and you see what really happened, yeah, they screwed Bret Hart. I'm sorry, they screwed Bret Hart.
Yeah. I think Rick would also agree with you on that.
Yeah, they screwed Bret.
Uh,
Doug, do you have any
I don't know if
instances?
anybody's seen the. Did anybody watch the Peacock special on
I
WrestleMania
did.
9 about how he came back and he wasn't how he got his eye injury? They said that he got in a fight with Vince and a bunch of things about.
I think it was a Macho Man thing. Well, that's the rumor was that it was Macho
So,
Man, but we don't really know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that was bad. I should have known better when he got.
Yeah, I think I honestly think I don't know. It's just like you want to celebrate all the good things that Hogan did for wrestling. Like you said, there really wouldn't be mainstream wrestling without Hogan, and we all know this. But it's also got to talk about these politics behind the scenes. Like, the infamous "that doesn't work for me, brother." That's Hogan thing. I know, as a fan, I know we all know the whole situation that happened at Starrcade '97 with Sting as well. That was a screwy finish. That really screwed up a whole 18-month build that they had.
Yeah.
And listening to a Eric Bischoff podcast and Hogan saying that going into the talking about he didn't think Sting was tanned enough. Sting was going through these mental things with personal life and stuff like that. And I mean, it sucked because that's where it should have ended, but it didn't end there. It didn't end there, and it, like I said, it made 18 months of what Sting did kind of mean. It kind of was useless.
Yeah. Yeah. But
give me
Hogan had control then too,
which is crazy, right? In creative control in professional wrestling is a dangerous thing to have.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's a super dangerous thing to have. And but I'll give you an example of a moment where Hogan did put somebody over, and that was Goldberg in the Georgia Dome.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really necessarily know at that time if he could have said no. I don't really think it would have been a good idea to say no.
Well, I think he did, because he was treated that way too with Andre.
Mm-hmm.
When he fought Andre, he didn't know if he was going over or not. He had no idea until they were wrestling, and Andre told him straight up, pin me. And then, did the leg drop and went for the pin. Andre had control over everything. And that's where Hogan, that was the spot that he wanted, and he got it.
Yep. I mean, and you think the Hogan Andre thing was a catalyst for other things too. Like, for example, Hogan slamming Andre was a catalyst for Luger slamming Yokozuna.
Yeah.
All of that stuff was, the All-American hero. Because let's be clear, Hogan was portrayed as the All-American hero. From the moment he beat Iron Sheik for the title, all the way up until his heel turn in WCW, he was an All-American hero. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think he was, like, honestly, I wasn't a Hogan fan growing up. I was an Ultimate Warrior fan. So, at that time, you only had two choices. It was either Hogan or Warrior.
Yeah,
Hogan or Warrior. Like Warrior. Warrior was the energetic dude who ran 1,000 miles a minute with all the paint on his face. And, and then he beat Hogan. So that meant a lot too at the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so I mean, Hogan did a lot. And see the legendary feud Hogan had with Macho Man over Elizabeth.
Yes. Yeah.
The infamous Saturday Night Main Event. And that was a heel move too. Because how you leave your tag team partner in the ring to take his woman to the locker room. Like, when you think about it, right? Think about it. It was crazy. Yeah. Like, and then, but yet,
one of my favorite Hogan matches was Hogan and Macho Man versus the.
Say that again. Okay, I think we have a technical difficulty.
I said that's one of my secret favorite matches is Hogan and Macho Man at SummerSlam versus $1 Million Man and Zeus.
Oh
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah,
Oh, and don't forget Hogan and Macho versus Million Dollar Man and Andre. Mega Powers
Andre.
versus Mega Bucks.
Yeah.
So New Jersey Devil Rising, are y'all all fans? Yeah, I'm fans, definitely. Been a fan since I've been since '88. Yeah, since '88. But a Hogan fan, not really. I mean, like I
I
said,
think that's what he's asking.
yeah, not
You
really
might
when
be
it comes
asking
to
that.
Hogan. Not really when it comes to Hogan. I'm not
Well,
gonna sit here and
see,
say I've never rooted for Hogan.
when I was a kid, I was a Hogan fan, and growing up, and then once I got into the wrestling business and started to understand more of the wrestling business, you know, then and then of course, hearing the inside scoop, I mean, I know we're going to go into the bad moments of Hogan, but, hearing that, I don't know. I guess when he turned back to being a baby face,
Hmm.
it was like cliche all of a sudden with him. It was the same thing over and over. Let me tell you something, brother. And that's all how he always started, his sentence. It was like, all right, come on. What are you trying to say? So I don't want to say I got tired of Hogan after a while, but it was just repetitive, and there was never nothing really good, not good, new when it came to Hogan. It's just like what Gorilla Monsoon said. Hogan couldn't wrestle for nothing, but he had the look of a champion, he had the body of a champion, and that's what Vince wanted, and they got it in Hulk Hogan. Because well, you look at him when he was in Rocky 3, you know, when he played Thunder Lips, you know. So for me, I was a fan, but I was, after learning more about the business, I was just like, all right, I know what he's doing.
Yeah, yeah, and you also got to also remember too. Sorry guys, I'm actually sending out the links and stuff, but you also got to remember too. Hogan was the catalyst for Vince liking all of these big muscle-headed guys as well.
Yeah.
That
Yep.
Hogan was the template, and
Yeah.
it wasn't until I got older till I realized that saying your prayers and eating your vitamins weren't regular vitamins he was talking about. But that's another thing too. Growing up, realizing that 1 minute Hulk Hogan looked like this gigantic monster, and the next minute he was slimmed down and trim.
Yeah.
And I mean, we all know why. It was the steroids
Oh
thing,
yeah.
and he slimmed down. But
Yeah.
yeah, and I think, and it's funny because I think it was around that time when I think the fans started kind of like turning on him. Oh, Andre, what's going on, man? I agree everything you're saying because that's exactly how I saw him. Yeah, yeah. So Hogan, like I said, Hogan was definitely the catalyst to like what Vince McMahon deemed was the
Yeah.
prototypical WWE superstar. You had
Superstar.
to be
Yeah.
what 6'5", 6'6", had to
Mm-hmm.
be 200
Muscle.
and yeah, 230 pounds. No, not even 30, 270 pounds, 280 pounds.
Yeah.
But oh, but okay. So you know what? This is easier to talk to you about this because you're a former wrestler and you know a lot of history about the wrestling thing too.
Mm.
So 91 Survivor Series, Hulk Hogan and Undertaker, the infamous tombstone on the chair.
Yeah.
Well, so for those who don't know, Undertaker and Hulk Hogan haven't had the best relationship since like 1991, and that was because there was a part where, and if you guys remember, Hogan Undertaker in his first year in WWE actually beat Hogan for the title, and it was with a tombstone on a steel chair. And prior to the match, Hogan told Undertaker about not dropping him on his neck. So Undertaker was real careful about it. And if you go back and look at that match, Hogan's head was nowhere near the chair at all.
Yeah.
But Hogan sold it like he was dying, and Undertaker thought his career was over at that point. And then later on, when he went back to look at the video and had various wrestlers tell him, he realized Hogan was kind of, full of crap at the moment. So at that point, it was almost like Undertaker and Hogan never really had a relationship after that. But that was Hogan also realizing, I think, Hogan's been in the business long enough to know that if the next big superstar comes along, that he may not be that superstar anymore. So he did
Oh,
everything he could to protect his spot.
yeah, yeah. He did with Macho Man. He did it with Ultimate Warrior, because those guys, because there was some tension between Hogan and Vince back in the day, and that's why they brought in Ultimate Warrior. Because you look at Warrior, big guy, tall guy, again, you know, had the look of a champion, had the body of a champion, and he was going to replace Hogan if Hogan left.
Mhm.
So that's why they did the thing. They had their match. Ultimate Warrior ended up beating him, and after that was just pretty much history.
Mm. Hogan. One thing about Hogan and Warrior too, they mirrored each other in terms of
Mm-hmm.
who was. It was almost like they were both at one point competing to be Vince's number one,
Yeah.
and they both played the politics thing. I think
Oh
Hogan
yeah.
probably played it just a little bit better,
Oh yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But well, the real okay. So
Because he
Andre
knew.
said the real reason. Let's see. Let's read the comment. So Andre said the real reason why Vince didn't like Hulk Hogan was simply because of the testimony he made, and you have to admit if Hogan did not testify, Vince would have definitely went to jail. Well, yeah, yeah. Hogan. I'm gonna be honest with you. Hogan was protecting himself at that moment too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he was.
And I don't. And another thing about wrestling, I don't think what a lot of people don't realize as well either is that Hulk Hogan is like one of the biggest reasons why wrestling is not unionized.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people know that either, but at
It's
one
true.
point the wrestlers all got together and they were gonna strike in order, to be unionized. And Hogan went to Vince to let them know what they were all doing. And yeah, because guess what? If you're unionized now, you're not the top dog anymore.
That's
So
right.
once again, it's another situation of protecting his spot.
Yep.
So, but
And
yeah,
that he
so
did.
yep. So let me ask you a question. Hogan leaves WWE for WCW. How impactful was that for
Oh,
professional wrestling?
it was huge. It was huge because it was, because at the time nobody, we didn't really have the internet then, so nobody really knew that that was actually going to happen until it happened,
Mm-hmm.
and then everybody was just like in shock because that was, well, what from what everybody thought that was Vince's boy. That was his golden ticket, and then all of a sudden he jumps to WCW. It's like, oh shit, what's going to happen to WWE now, or WWF at the time? What's going to happen now? Who's going to be the new golden boy and all this other stuff? So I think it was a huge impact when Hogan left, big time.
Yeah, and I also think too. I don't think a lot of people realize too. Like Hogan, one of the reasons Hogan left too, because Vince McMahon wanted to kind of go smaller at the time. He wanted this new
Yeah.
generation because Hogan left, and then Macho Man followed, and then guys like Duggan followed, guys like the
Mm-hmm.
Nasty Boys followed, and then it was almost like WCW became WWE light, if you want to say.
Yeah.
But another thing that was important too for WCW at that time was that they were able to do something WWE never did, and that was put Hogan versus Flair,
Yeah.
and that did big box office numbers.
Oh
So
yeah.
that kind of set WCW in a different trajectory at that moment too.
Yep. Sure did.
So Andre says it was one of the biggest power moves he ever made when he went to WCW, and it worked. Yeah, and it's true because if you really think about it, they did a whole red carpet for him in Universal Studios, and
Yeah.
but
Yep.
honestly, I think even after a while, the fans got tired of that because
Yeah.
remember he started fighting the Giant, and then they tried to recreate that because they wanted him to be Andre's son, and
Yeah.
that really didn't really go anywhere. And then Hogan kind of got like the fans started to see through it over there. Then he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't a good guy as much as anymore. And then the big thing happened that changed wrestling for a long time, and that was the
Yeah.
Bash at the Beach '96 heel turn.
Yeah.
And
Do you think that's like probably the biggest shock heel turn ever?
Yes, and I will say yes because it changed professional wrestling.
Yeah.
It certainly changed WCW, that's for sure. And you have to look at, because there are people who will sit here and say, and we discussed this the other day. There are people who will sit there and say John Cena's heel turn was the biggest heel turn,
Hmm.
but I think you and I can agree John Cena's heel turn is a bust, and
It was
it will never, it can
well,
never
it was
duplicate
somebody
what
I didn't
Hogan's did.
see coming from Cena. So, but I don't think it was better than Hogan's turn, heel turn.
No, I don't think so either, and I don't think it ever. I don't personally. I don't even think it came close. If
No,
you really want me to be honest with you, like,
no,
but like I
no.
said, there'll be people who will sit here and tell you that it was, and to me, those are the people who are probably like 20 right now,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you
that's true.
because Hogan's heel turn. Think about what Hogan's heel turn did. It gave WCW big numbers. It
Oh
had
yeah,
WCW beating WWE,
yep,
and it turned Sting from Surfer Boy to the Crow.
yeah,
So
yeah.
Hogan's impact helped. Only thing I didn't like about
But
I can't even say the only thing I don't like about the heel turn, but the only thing I didn't like when it came to the heel turn and him running the NWO is the fact that all of a sudden the NWO became like 1,000 members.
yeah, yeah, that's what kind of ruined it.
Yeah, and
That's
it's
what kind of
almost
ruined it.
yeah, and it's like at that point it's like you went from what NWO to NWO Hollywood and NWO Wolfpack and
Wolfpack.
NWO 2000 and NWO Black and Silver, and I'm
Yeah,
just like, no, no.
yeah. They did it. It was way too much.
To me, when Hulk Hogan became a heel, that changed wrestling forever. And I have to admit, as much as I hated the NWO, they were the real reason WCW stayed in business for a very long time. And it was only when they broke up that's when the company went downhill. Okay, so creative control again.
Yeah,
WCW went downhill, and we can point to a couple of things, but WCW to me went downhill with the finger poke of doom. I never
yeah,
understood it. I never got the point of it. I don't understand how a wrestler is so willingly to take a bump, to take a to lay down for somebody to lose a world title. I mean, I know. Don't get me wrong, wrestling is scripted. I know it's for a bigger picture, but in the actuality of it all, it really made no sense.
no, made absolutely no sense at all.
Hogan heel turn was very much an emotional heel turn for the fans. Yeah, at the time, yes.
Oh yeah,
But it's crazy because if you watch Bash at the Beach, Bobby Heenan spoiled it before it even happened. Because Hogan's walking to the ring and he's like, "Which side are you on?" And they're like, "What do
yeah,
you mean?" And
yeah,
but I will say this about Bobby Heenan. One thing I respect about Bobby Heenan, whether he was a heel, and he was always a heel for as long as I remember. Whether
yeah,
Hogan was a heel or a babyface, he never liked Hogan.
yeah,
And I do feel like that was a difference between WCW and WWE at the time, because I think had it been WWE, I honestly think they would have tried to find some type of way to put Hogan and Bobby Heenan together,
yeah.
just for the shock value of it all. And WCW is just like Bobby Heenan was just like, I knew it. Bobby Heenan literally said, I told you guys for years that Hogan was a scum. And
Yeah.
it was like he's like, yo, you guys never believed me, and I told you guys. So,
Bobby Heenan's the
but
best.
yeah, he was. Resting. It's so crazy. Like we're talking about all of this stuff, and like half these guys that I mentioned that played big roles in Hulk Hogan's career is all dead now.
Yeah. Yep.
Bobby Heenan, Sid, Scott Hall. Like I seen a picture earlier and it was depressing. It was a picture of Hogan, Hall, and Nash, and it was like Nash was the only one with color still.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I mean, you get the symbolism of that.
Yeah. Oh
He's the
yeah.
only one still alive. Yeah.
He's the
So it's
only one
like
still alive.
it sucks. Like, I mean, the reality of it all is like, did, did we expect Hogan to pass away? No. I mean, we never
No.
do, but I read something like maybe yesterday that Jimmy Hart's like Hulk Hogan was in great spirits. He's doing fine. And
Yeah.
then this. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and Jimmy Hart was real close with Hogan.
Yeah, exactly. See, and that was another thing. Jimmy Hart hated Hulk Hogan, and all of a sudden he was on Hulk Hogan's side in WWE. See what I mean when I tell you?
Oh yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So, all right, you gotta give it. Oh, Brandon, what's going on, man? Unmute the mic. Oh well, there we go. He'll be back. It happens. But yeah. So I mean, add another memory of Hulk Hogan losing to Lex Luger on an episode of Nitro for the WCW title, only to win it back like 3 days later.
Yeah.
But it still was a cool moment at the time, though.
Yeah, it was.
So we skip we go from WCW now. WCW's over, and WWE brings Hulk Hogan back to WWE with the NWO. Reliving another gimmick.
Yeah.
Injecting
didn't really
poison.
work, in my opinion.
No, because Scott Hall had his demons, and I think, and everybody wanted to see Austin and Hogan, and for whatever reason, that match never happened. You got Hogan and Nash instead. I mean, Hogan and Hall instead. But I mean, the only good thing is that you created a great moment at WrestleMania with Hogan and Rock, because the fans literally changed that whole match.
Yeah, it did. And it was a halfway decent match. That's the sad part. Because Hogan, like I said, Hogan can't really wrestle that well. And to watch that match unfold and then to see the fans were changing, it's like they've changed their mind all of a sudden. It was weird.
The real reason why the WCW went out of business was simply because of poor management. Everyone behind the scenes mismanaging everything from financing and booking. Yeah, I agree, but you also have to look at it too. Like, giving wrestlers their creative control didn't help matters much either.
No, and he had all sorts of creative control, and Nash had creative control, and Scott Hall had creative control, and they took it and ran with it.
Yeah. So let's see if we got it right this time. Brandon, can you hear us? I don't think you can hear us.
Brandon, what's going on?
Oh, okay. All right. Welcome. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm good, and you?
Good. Can't complain, man. We're talking about the Hulk Hogan's career, professional wrestling. Do you have like a favorite Hogan moment, or like a moment that Hogan transitioned wrestling to what it was?
I mean, I'm a 2000s baby, so that was way before my era. So I'm the, you know what I'm saying? I'm the youngest of the, but I say this though, he is a legend. He did what he did for wrestling. He transcended the game through two eras of wrestling, if we're being honest, the 80s and the 90s. And so, yeah, like wrestling definitely went mainstream once he became a household name. And so I give him that. But the stuff that kind of the ring, I mean, yeah, we got to talk about it.
Yeah, we're gonna get to it. we're gonna definitely get to the other stuff. Because I will say this, Twitter's been a firestorm all day.
Yeah,
Twitter has been on fire
all day.
Yeah, listen. I've been on Twitter. I didn't say anything. I haven't commented. They can have it. They can have it.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen Twitter, and I've seen what they've been saying, what they haven't been saying, and it's been brutal. It's been brutal. Like you got, I mean, you guys.
I'll say this though. I say this: if people are this active about him, the day Vince McMahon crills over, baby, that outfit's going to burn, because that's going to be an uproar.
Yeah. And then we'll be having another Vince McMahon story too, and that will be even crazier than this one. So
I don't want to be on Twitter today. That news flash drops that Vince done. That's gonna be.
Yep. The number one
That's
wrestling
gonna be
match that Hogan
crazy.
did, I'll never forget it as long as it's with the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania. Yeah, I think the Warrior and Hogan match was so significant for me as a child because I think that was the first time I seen two baby faces go at it. You know what?
Yeah,
I'm not going to talk like a wrestling mom. I'm going to talk like a wrestling fan. That's the first time I seen two good guys go at it,
yeah.
and you actually had to choose. So, and for me at the time, it was Warrior.
Title for title.
Yep. So it, and and
Ultimate Warrior
that
was a
and
larger than life character. He still is. Like
yep, he's
I don't
another
think he get his
controversial
credit
figure.
either. Like he don't get the credit that he deserves either. Like for what he was able to do. Oh, listen, tell me about it. But what he was able to do during his era doesn't get talked about enough. Like I think he was really the first character to introduce that level of charisma, and he wasn't a talker.
Yeah, I mean, and then when he did talk, it didn't make any sense.
No, it didn't.
But because
No,
of who he was, you
like
believed it.
it's like just
Yeah,
looking at him, you just knew.
he was a good bullshitter.
Yeah, I mean
Mm,
that's about
yeah, like,
85%
it's
of
like he
wrestling.
didn't have to talk. Like same thing with Roosh and AEW. Roosh don't got to talk, but like his demeanor, like yeah, like basically his demeanor, like once he came out with the face paint and all of that, you knew you was getting your ass whooped. Like when he started shaking the ropes, you was getting your ass whooped.
I mean, to be honest with you, to me, if when you think about it now, Warrior was, and I don't know if this is going to be insulting or not, but Warrior was what Goldberg was in a modern time. You didn't have to
Mm.
do much. You just had to go out there, look like a badass, win your match in less than 3 minutes, and the crowd thought you was the next biggest thing.
Mhm. Let me ask you this question: given where wrestling is today in 2025, would a character like the Ultimate Warrior have gotten over in
Yes.
2025?
Uh, you want to be honest with you? I think that's a hard question to ask and answer, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because fans today are a little smarter. Not on social media, but fans in the arenas are a little
Mm-hmm.
smarter, and I think okay. So I will tell you this much. I think that
Mm-hmm.
I think that Warrior would be a heel. He would be a bad guy because I think fans would see right through it and they would start booing him. Just like coming into professional wrestling today, if you're a clean cut babyface All American, they're gonna boo you.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah,
Mm.
I think he would be a heel. I think he would. I think his intent would be to
Would he
be a
be?
babyface, but eventually they would boo him.
Um.
He would take the pain off, and he would just probably be part of Judgment Day.
Would he be?
I'm sorry.
Would he be? Would he be a top guy today?
Would he be a what?
Would he be considered a top guy in today's era? Had he debuted in this era, would he be considered a top guy in this era?
Uh, honestly, I would say no, no. He would probably because you know what they would do if he's a big muscle head like he is, they would just group him in the same category. They would put
Mm.
Sheamus and Rusev, and it would just but without the match quality. So I don't even know if he would make it past like a year or two.
Mm.
Let me ask you,
Kind
Tony.
of.
What do
Mm.
you think?
Okay.
It's
So
kind of
basically,
hard to. It's kind of hard to answer that because you're constantly thinking about what he did,
mm,
when he first started, you know, and with his type of work now. Uh, I, I would say yes to a certain point because think about it. Look at Bailey when Bailey was doing the hugger gimmick, but look how long that lasted. Didn't last too long, you know. I mean, with him, with Ultimate Warrior, I think it would work, but only for so long. And then people would, like you said, people would see through his bullshit and start to boo him. And then all of a sudden, okay, now WWE's got to think, all right, where do we go from here? Do we turn him heel or stick him as a baby face? I think they would go the heel route, but they would do it, you know, uh, to get the sympathy or to get him over as a heel. He has to do it against somebody that's like your top baby face.
Hmm. The only character today that works great with face paint and the fans will truly be behind him and believable is Sting.
Yeah.
It's the only one. He's the only one, to be honest with you. Like
Yep.
there's no way that if Sting came in today's time, it wouldn't last long, and he'd probably have to paint off, and he'd probably be a heel too. But because of what he gave to the industry and what the fans know him as,
Mm-hmm.
I think, and it's the reason why it still worked. Even in AEW, I mean, Sting was like 60 something, jumping off of stuff he didn't even need to be jumping off of.
Yeah.
But Sting could have been in AEW. Sting could have been in AEW for the next 5 years and never did a one wrestling match, and the fans would still love him for who he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's hard to do so when today to bring somebody like Sting's character or an Ultimate Warrior character to today's time, it wouldn't work. But on the flip side, if you brought a team like the Road Warriors today, it will work because they were like two big badass heels, or even two big badasses with face paint, but they're beating your ass every 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
And
They were believable though. You know what I'm saying?
And that's where the crowd gets on you for. Like,
yeah,
you have to be believable. Like,
and they were believable, boy. When they was shouting over from the south side of Chicago, it's like, all right, man, I'm already scared. Shit.
Yeah, they just look like, but they were just two gigantic dudes who they just kick ass, honestly.
Now,
and
I was just thinking of this too. Brian Cage, similar physique as the Ultimate Warrior, and look where he's at. You know?
Yeah, but I think the difference between Brian Cage, I do think the difference between Brian Cage and like Ultimate Warrior is Brian Cage can wrestle.
Yeah.
Like, he can put on bangers and it's believable. Like, and the crowd sees right through it. But guys like Brian
Cage, he can't
be
losing the hook though.
No. I mean, no. But the thing with that too also is like with Brian Cage, to get off the topic of Hogan, we'll get back in a second. But with Brian Cage is like, Brian Cage could put on a banger and he could be a bad guy, but if he keeps putting on consistent bangers, he would be a super baby face in his heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
So, but back to hold on, let me read another one. I'm 100% agree with you on that when it comes to Sting. Trust me, no one wears the face paint much better than him. Don't get me wrong, there's been quite a few guys I've seen that does the face paint just as good, but if not better than him. But Sting in my book is the number one top guy when it comes to face paint. I agree with you on that one. I agree with you on that. Sting's whole like longevity, plus the fact that if you really think about it, a lot of people don't really have. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say anything bad about him. Like Ultimate Warrior, it's like I don't think I've really heard too many people say anything good about him.
Yeah.
So it's like, but Hogan's heel turn wasn't a surprise. So visualize that Hogan's heel turn wasn't a surprise. Well, for me, it wasn't a surprise. I always thought he was a bad guy to begin with. So Sting did try to sign up with the WWE, but he was the one that turned him down because he didn't like the direction the company was going. Yes, and I agree with you. And then he got screwed later on for it. Because of all the years that he turned down WWE, when he finally did get there, they didn't do absolutely anything with him worth doing. So yeah, I agree with that. But so now let's say we have Hogan's in back to WWE, the Rock situation. He actually wins the world title again.
Yeah.
In WWE, one good time. I mean, he only had it for like a month, but at that time the title was being flipped over like hot potatoes anyway. So
yeah.
And ironically, he lost the title back to the Undertaker again.
Yeah.
Which is great. So look, full circle moment all over again.
Yeah.
But so we'll skip WWE the rest of that. It is what it is at that point. Mr. America, all that other stuff. And then he went and destroyed TNA.
Yeah. I didn't watch him too much in TNA, but I did catch more so of people saying that he just trashed TNA.
Well, it was more so because like the minute he came in, he took the 6-sided ring away, and
Yeah.
that's what they loved. And then he started bringing in his guys, and you know how that goes, and all of that other stuff goes. But
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Oh
but
yeah.
the TNA run was what it was. And people would say destroy the company, but you can't really say that because TNA is still around. So I mean, I guess he did what he thought would be best for the company. It just didn't turn out to be that way. But like I said, it's just what it is. Hulk Hogan's Hulk Hogan. You're never gonna turn him down when you think he can do something for your company.
Yeah.
But so now we got his wrestling career out the way. let's get to the, let's get to the controversial parts. I'm not gonna go word for word in the stuff that he said, but he said a lot of racist things, and not even a lot of racist things, but he said one particular racist thing that he got caught, and it was supposed to be a private conversation that turned into something public, and he sued and all of this. And now I did get into it with somebody on Twitter because I tried to let them know that Hogan never apologized for what he said, and they were like, "That's a lie. He did apologize." But the truth of the matter is, he didn't apologize. His response was, "Next time, make sure there's no cameras on you so you don't get caught saying what you're saying." That's not an apology.
Yeah.
And I think Hogan pretty much paid for it ever since. And people on Twitter today are like, "Oh, don't focus on the negative stuff that he said. You can only focus on his positive, his career." I'm like, yeah, that's great and all, but Hogan as a person, you can't talk about his wrestling career and then not talk about all the stuff he did after. It's not fair to the community. It's not fair to the wrestling world to sit here and just be like, that's like saying, and the name who shall name nameless, but we're gonna name him one time. That's like Chris Benoit. You can sit here, you can say, I'm not comparing the two because it's way two totally different experiences. But there are some people who will still praise his career and will choose to ignore the hideous crime he did outside of that.
Yep. Jim Ross as
Hogan
well.
didn't do Hogan didn't do nowhere near what Chris Benoit did, but just because he didn't do anything physically doesn't mean his words didn't have consequences.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, Hogan saying what he's saying, when it came to his daughter dating people of color, and ending that statement with, "Yo, we're all just a little bit racist." Somehow you said pretty much just admitted that you're racist.
Yeah.
And I can't say we're all racist because I'm not racist. You know what I'm saying? I don't
Right.
care who people date. I don't care what your nationality is. I don't care about that. So you can't sit here and go, "We all have a little bit of racism in us." No, that was just you, and it came out, and you got mad that it came out, and you haven't been forgiven. And I think you haven't been forgiven because you never fully apologized for what you said. And to be fair, I kind of respect it a little bit, because why are you going to apologize if you meant it?
Yeah.
If you meant it, you are who you are. We're not going to sit here and say the politics didn't play a role in how his career has been lately either. Because think about it, the last time he was on TV, he got booed out the building. And I think that was more of his political affiliation than the racist stuff that he said.
Yeah, I think it was more of his political.
Hold on, let's see. Comments. Everybody knows that they're behind the scenes that Hogan was smoking pot doing cocaine, taking steroids, various other drugs. He was using politics to hold some guys back from reaching to the top. I mean, yeah, it's creative controls, what Hogan was doing. I mean, we all know Hogan had creative control. Let's see. Hulk as a person reminds me of mirror image of Dog the Bounty Hunter. I haven't really watched that show, so visualize. If you could give me an example of what you mean by that, then I can make it better.
Dog the Bounty Hunter kind of was almost did the same thing. Like, well, it was the same thing actually that Hogan did. His daughter was dating. I think his daughter was dating a person of color, and Dog didn't really like it. That same thing, same scenario.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So then I can't. Then I guess it is what it is. Then. But listen, I I guess because I was never really a Hogan fan, all the stuff he did over the last few years, then I didn't really care too much for him.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like when I found out he passed today, I was just like, damn, because as a wrestling fan, it's just he's Hulk
Yeah.
Hogan, but it wasn't like, damn, like
Yeah.
it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like
Yeah.
it was,
No, I get what you're saying because I was the same way when when I saw it on the news. I was like, oh shit. I was like, oh damn. I went and I
racism.
told my daughter, and I was like, hey, Hulk Hogan passed. She was like, what? I was like, yeah, it's crazy. So, but the other part of me was just like, you know, I'm not trying to be disrespectful because he is still a person. He did pass away, and it's
He's still a
it's
legend.
he's still a legend. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but
It's it's
yeah,
it's 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 hard to defend. You can't defend it. You know what I'm
no,
saying?
no.
You just can't. You can't defend it. And like you said, he didn't even apologize for it. So it just didn't seem like he was trying to uh, be remorseful of what he said. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? So, a lot of people were like, well, kick rocks then,
I
see ya,
think
bye.
so. I think the sad part is that, and I think what makes it worse is that fans wanted to forgive Hogan, and
Yeah.
all they wanted was the apology.
Yep.
All they wanted to hear was the
Yep.
"I'm sorry." But when his response was, "Hey guys, my advice to you is just don't get caught on camera."
Yeah.
That's not
That
an
didn't,
apology. That's
yeah.
I
It's
mean
that old
to
expression. It's not what you say, it's how you say it.
yeah, and let's be clear to a lot of people, Hogan was our well, not mine, but Hogan was a lot of these fans' childhood heroes as a
Yeah.
wrestling fan.
And
Like,
it's like they don't want to believe that he would do something like that, even though the proof was out there.
yep, yep. And it's crazy because like as a fan, when I'm older now and I look at a Hogan match now, I'm like, really? If you really realize how many finishing moves he killed, like
Yeah.
if you really think about it, like I put my
Hmm.
finishing move on you, he kicks out at 2. Now you get
Yeah.
up 3, and his finishing moves with his finishing sequence was all the same. Kick out at
Oh yeah.
2, shake your head, shake your head. You look at the wrestler looks at you like you're crazy. 1 punch, no. 2 punch, no. 3 punch, he
Yeah.
points his finger at you.
Yep.
He wags the finger. 3 punches to the ropes, sends you to the ropes. 1 kick, 1 leg drop, match over.
Match
It was
over.
every
That's
sequence.
every time. That's why, like
And I'm gonna
Gorilla
be honest,
Monsoon said, he didn't know wrist lock from a wristwatch.
wristwatch. Yeah, I remember that.
It's
But
like somebody's at my door. I'll be right back.
all right, go ahead. So yeah, so I don't think like a situation like that where if Hogan had those moves now, I don't think the fans would be as receptive to Hogan doing. Yeah, you're right. So the leg drop was classic, but think about it now. Like as we get older, think about like what that like how crazy that was now. Like all it took was like 1 leg drop when wrestlers would throw like the whole kitchen sink at him. Like it would take a bad guy would beat Hogan up for 20 minutes for Hogan to win a match in like 5 minutes. Like it's crazy. I find that this is like so hilarious. But Sel, let me ask you a question. Like, what was a Hulk Hogan memory for you? Um, so back, let's go see if we got any more comments too. Any more of the comments? Oh, the dog bounty hunter thing. Both had the same downfall with their daughters' fake apologies and their political views during the Trump time. Yeah, the politic thing really did not help Hogan at all. I'd be the first one to tell you that. And with the way the political climate is, I don't really want to talk too much about politics, but with the way the political climate is, Hogan showing his allegiance was definitely either people were going to love it or people were going to hate it. My only problem with professional wrestling is you can't have one set of people saying leave politics out of wrestling and then the other set of people saying, "Oh well, you shouldn't be mad at his political views because he said it." You heard the What do you think about that one, Tony?
What was the question?
No, I'm saying they was talking about the whole Trump thing and stuff. I'm like, in my opinion, like, yeah, the politics did really play a part in how fans viewed Hogan after a while.
Oh yeah,
And my thing is, you can't in one instance say keep politics out of wrestling, and then in the next instance you're like, oh, don't be mad for what he said when it comes to politics.
right. Yeah, I mean, what was the
Oh,
last?
Sel, you're right. Ripping off the shirt was classic. Cause I'd be crazy to tell you I ain't never rip a shirt or two in time and got in trouble for it. I, I,
You know how much money I spent on that
I
shirt?
listen, man. You know, I don't even tell you how many times I got in trouble for ripping shirts. I definitely did get in trouble quite a few times. So I have to agree with you on that one because Hulk Hogan was the real reason why I started watching wrestling. Yes, I fell in love with it ever since then. Yeah, like I said, Hogan was the reason for a lot of people being into wrestling. Hogan for me, like
Yeah.
Hogan became big to me during No Holds Barred. That's how I got into Hogan. I seen that before I seen him as Thunderlips and Rocky. So
Oh really?
yeah. It wasn't until like probably a couple years later that I seen that Rocky movie and I seen him and I was like, oh. And then you realize he was playing a heel in it. Well,
Yeah.
honestly, he was until that one scene at the end when he was like, yo, like you gotta play it
Yeah.
cool. Like, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I see what this
It's the
is.
name of the
But
game.
yeah.
All part of the
But
game.
you know, I mean, like I said, a lot of people fell in love with wrestling because of Hogan, but a lot of people fell out of love with Hogan because of everything he did outside of wrestling.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And these last few years, Hogan, I think Hogan was just an example of another wrestler who never wanted to stay out of the spotlight. Because these last few years, he's been trying his best to do different ventures, and nothing was working though. Nothing was working, and I do think a lot of it is a lot of people didn't forgive him for what he said. A lot of people didn't care about his political affiliations, and at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah. Yep.
Thank you for tuning in. Oh, by the way, guys, make sure I appreciate all the views that we got tonight so far. I appreciate the likes and comments. But could you guys do me a favor? Could you guys go on my YouTube channel and subscribe to the page? It's 2920 TV. I would greatly appreciate it to get more views up. So thanks, guys. But yeah. So let me ask you a question because we'll finish it off with this because this was a pretty good conversation. What do you think Hulk Hogan's career is gonna always be remembered for?
Ugh. I would have to say probably just this time in WWE when he was saying you know, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and all that other shit. That and being a real American. That song, when that song came out, I think they really got he was really hyped about being that. So I think that's what people remember him for. And like one of the guys said, that commented ripping the shirt was always iconic, saying, doing the point, the leg drop. He had a lot of iconic moments, and the leg drop was always his thing. The pointing was always his thing. Never give up. The shaking it off every time he got hit. He was hulking up and stuff like that. So I think that's what they're gonna remember him for, not the other stuff as far as him going to like WCW and turning on Macho Man that he when he joined the NWO. So it's
Okay.
that's it's a hard one to say, but I have to go with that one.
All right. So for me to close it out, and Henry, I seen what you said. I'll bring you on a guest. I'll bring you on as a guest for the next show because we about to close this one out because I've had a lot of wrestling consumption this week and not a lot of sleep. So I got to get some rest. But I will say for me as a fan, not of Hogan, but as wrestling as a whole and as a career that he had, and as I got older, I'll remember Hogan for two things. And ironically, they both start with the R. ripping the shirt and racism.
No, man. That's true though.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest with you, it hits harder when you're a person of color, because it's like you
Right.
said, how many fans were diehard? How many people of color were diehard Hogan fans? And when he said that, it was just like, nah, Hogan wouldn't say that. I can't believe he said that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They were, yeah. Until it came out.
The person who actually came up with the song "Real American" was Jimmy Hart, and that was a real reason why a lot of wrestling guys had good. Yeah, so Jimmy
Mhm.
Hart is one of the most underrated composers when it comes to music, and
Oh
Jimmy
yeah.
Johnson. Those
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
are like responsible for the most iconic WWE songs. And yeah, Real American is a classic. When you hear it, you know what it is when it comes on.
Oh yeah.
Like you don't even have to hear the words itself. You hear it.
Yeah.
So
Especially like in the beginning part of it,
mhm.
you know exactly
So
who.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, thanks guys for tuning in to this episode of the Art of the Finished Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, Rels, once again, and joined by Tony. Once again, Tony, thank you for being my guest tonight. And
Yeah, no problem.
once again, let these people know where they could find your podcast. Because let me tell you guys something. Wrestling, and I put, and listen, I don't believe in competition of any kind. If you have
I
a
don't either.
brand or anything you want to promote, you hit me up. I will promote it for you, whether it be a wrestling podcast, whether it be my other podcast, the Raw Raw and Cut podcast. But I will sit here and tell you, of all the podcasts that I've done, the Wrestling Point of View podcast was probably by far the most enjoyable podcast I've been a part of, the longest podcast I've been a part of, but honestly, the most fun podcast I've been a part of. So, once again, let these guys know where they can find you, and make sure you guys go like and subscribe his too, and make sure you guys go listen and follow.
Yeah, we got a Facebook page, Wrestling POV Podcast. You can follow us on there. We post a lot of stuff on there, and we give free reign for people to post whatever you want on there. Questions, comments, whether you hate us or like us, you can still post on there. We'll react to it on our show. Our show comes out every Friday, Thursday or Friday. Actually today's show that Ty was on just dropped today. So if you want to take a listen to that, you can listen to it on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Spotify, Pandora. Um, Jesus, what's the other one?
Everywhere.
There's a everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah, we're pretty much everywhere. So you go to our Facebook page, you can get caught up with all the stuff that we'll normally talk about. We also got an email address if you want to write in your questions. Thank you, Elio. Amazon Music, Podbean. That's my other co-host. But yeah, you can email us to your questions or comments, either one at wrestlingpov1 at yahoo.com, and we'll say it live right on the air and talk about it. And like I said, you can bash us too if you want. We get a lot of that.
Yeah, like I said, it's a dope wrestling podcast.
Ty
Like,
knew firsthand what the
listen. I will say this because I'm not going to shout him out, but I hope he sees this, and if he don't, I'm gonna let him know. But there's a particular host on his podcast that has this weird obsession with Karrion Kross.
Rick Serrano.
And
I'll say his name.
yeah. And you have to literally listen to this whole podcast to see me and him go back and forth on this whole Karrion Kross thing. It was hilarious though.
Yeah. The title of his, what did I title it? Oh crap! It's in the booking. It's titled.
It's in the book. Cool. I'll make sure I'm gonna put it on my pages too as well. So I'm gonna put it out there for you guys. All right. But once again, man, thank you very much for being a guest tonight, man. And guys, we'll be back next week with another episode of the Art of the Finished Wrestling podcast. We're signing out. Good night.
See ya.